Okay, part two of sex and gender, and for the most part, we're going to dedicate the bulk of our discussion on the perspectives of gender stratification. Most notably, that would be the theories looking at the different theorists. We're also going to be taking a little glimpse into the future about issues of gender. When we think in terms of when we think in terms of this particular section of the chapter, consider, what do the functionalists, conflict theorists, feminists, symbolic interactionalists, and their perspectives say about gender stratification? What are the differences and the similarities? What do they offer as an explanation about how it is that gender evolves or exists in any college? All right, I hope you're going to be interested in this chapter as much as I hope you will be. I hope you'll be interested in me. Think it's one of the one that affects us all on a daily basis, but not all in the same way, because we don't walk the shoes of another man or another woman. We really don't have a good full understanding of why we have these differences, why they coexist or continue to exist the way that they do. So carrying on with this chapter, we're going to learn a lot more that might help you understand a bit more about yourself and those around you. So keep up the good work, everybody. Okay, we're going to do the second part, and now what we're going to relook at here is looking at the theories most notably. So let's begin with the first one, and we're going to look at the perspectives on gender stratification. Now the first is looking at functionalism, and here the division of labor is based in part on biological difference between men and women. Now this is a more, if I can express it this way, is a traditional view. It's not necessarily current, but you will still see this a lot in current families. Now the perspective here about the functionalists is to divide things into instrumental roles and expressive roles. And essentially what they're doing here is men are physically stronger, so they take on the responsibility of instrumental roles, which are the economic and decision-making responsibilities. Women who are able to bear children take on the expressive roles, and this is the affection and the emotional support for the family. The importance of traditional gender roles is what's foremost in the functionalist perspective. Now they introduce the division of family roles will ensure that important societal tasks will be fulfilled, also ensures a provision for family members. Now there is a model that they call the human capital model, and the human capital model is acquired by, or human capital that is acquired by education and job training, and can be measured in terms of the return on the investment. So women can leave paid work to have children, but they lose elements of human capital. They lose some degree of additional education, or they lose some additional job training, so that when they return to paid work, they have less human capital. And so oftentimes when women leave, they not only lose those opportunities, so maybe it's an opportunity for advancement, but it's also, if a relationship with their husband ends, they also lose benefits for not having been working while he continued to work. Now the second we'll look at is that of conflict, and the goal here is to complete the goal of conflict as a theory, at least, is to equally value the paid work of men and women as well as their unpaid family work. Men still hold a major resource of power. Now resources for men: education, strength, and they receive more than women do in wages. The resources for women tend to be sexual resources, companionship, and emotional support to others. So why gender stratification? Well, from a private ownership perspective, it's the means of production, and families as reflections of class. So if you can imagine a scale, and we've got within the family, if we look at it at a society, we have the scale where we have the very rich, if you will, the 1% at the top, and all the proletariat, all the workers at the bottom. Well, if you turn it towards the family and a relationship between husband and wife and having kids, well, then it's the male who tends to be at the top and the female who tends to be beneath, but because of the quality of the resources that they have to use. Now, the feminists take this perspective a little further and explain that part of the reason that this, that they believe that women and men are equal, however, that they should be valued equally and have equal rights, but women experience subordination to male power, in large part because of patriarchy. And as I mentioned earlier, patriarchy is a male-driven or a male-dominated society. And that's what feminists feel hold women back from being equal to men, because in fact they are equal to men, but it's patriarchy that makes the experience feel unequal. Now, when we think about feminists, they come with a variety of perspectives. And I'm just going to post this up here. Don't forget, you could use your pause button to make notes on these different models of feminism. There's the liberal feminist, radical, socialist, multicultural, and postmodern. So feel free to stop and take some notes. We'll touch on the symbolic interactionalists, where they're focused. Now remember, with the symbolic interactionalists, they're the only micro. So they look at the face-to-face interaction between people to understand how do they understand gender. They don't look at the bigger issues of, economy, of religion, of family, of education as being big pieces, the macro view. So it's a micro approach to the creation of gender in everyday life. Gender is constantly changing and being constructed through human interaction. So you think about that, how you learn to be female or feminine and how you learned to be male or masculine came in large part from your family, from your peers, from what you watch on TV, what you listen to on music, what your experience is like in everyday life, the education you had. All of these interactions that you've had throughout your life have helped build how you view masculinity and how you view femininity. The symbolic interactionalists introduce what they call doing gender. And this is when a person interacts with other people in a way that displays characteristics of a particular gender. So if you engage with all the people you interact with as a male, then they will start to see you in that sort of way. They'll construct your identity with you as being male. Now, if you're a female and you're doing that, and you take this male role, you may come up to some opposition, but also you may start to get people to be quite comfortable with this is just who you are. And so doing gender is the practicing of doing gender. Men or women who have made a transition, instead of having it almost on automatic pilot like you and I who fall in line with the gender, my being male, I take on the role of male, my gender is male, so I don't think about what I do to be male. But someone who's transited from being female to male, I have a niece and I have a cousin, both who have made transitions from female to male. Every day they have to think about what it is to be male because it's not automatic. They weren't raised that way, so they're combating, if you will, what they've been taught and how to behave and how they want to behave based on what they think and feel they are. It's a different life experience. So here you'll find this table in your textbook. You can use it as a reference to determine, just to get an overview of the different theorists. And then lastly, we'll just touch on is in the future, what's going to happen, or what can we expect? Well, there's a lot of things that could happen. I mean, equity laws have been passed. We might start to see some of that play out. Sexual harassment is a criminal act now, and we might see that change over time to be much more severe. With education, people are more likely to be open to the gifts of what women bring aside from the ability to have children. Also in the future,
We see the pay gap that's going to probably begin to decline and continue to decline. More men are doing more family work, and it's contributing to the overall benefit. And if those children who are raised by families who do shared responsibilities, then those children will grow up to be men and women who can see the benefit of balance and egalitarianism. Chances are the double day, the second shift, is going to continue for women for some time until there's more balance in the overall perspective about what genders are capable of doing. Okay, there's a sort of a quick overview of the chapter on sex and gender. I hope you've enjoyed it. Take some time to go through the chapter, make some notes for yourself, and get yourself ready for the next stage. Thank you, everybody. Bye now.